Joining me to discuss this is Dr Tessa Dunlop, royal historian and commentator. Dr Dunlop, thank you for joining us here on TalkTV. These Epstein files couldn't have come out at a worse time for the royal family, could they? Because Prince Andrew had actually had quite a good second half to the year in terms of staying out of the headlines.
Well, certainly within the family, he'd been somewhat rehabilitated. We saw him up at Balmoral. We saw him Sandringham at Christmas time in an understated way. There was old Uncle Andrew in the corner, like apparently anyone else's uncle in the corner at Christmas. But of course, he's not like anyone else's uncle. And it's a bit like the sort of turd that won't be flushed, the repeating Andrew saga. And the Epstein documents, I mean, nobody really wants to be cited in those documents. It's a reputational black hole, I'm sure. We've seen some of the names, Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson, David Copperfield. Of course, that's not to suggest any of them were implicated in trafficking, but it's just being seen in that extraordinary web of wealth and corruption that Epstein was commandeering, a man worth £580 million. And right at the centre, appearing all too frequently, I think 70 times I managed to count, but then a few more documents have been released this morning. An extra 19 documents amounting to about 300 pages have been released this morning. Certainly on my last count, I think Andrew got 70 mentions. And don't forget, Netflix has a scoop for us later this year, so expect more on Andrew.
Why do you think that he is named so much? Others are mentioned, as you say, and everyone involved denies any wrongdoing. But do you think there's a specific reason? Is he one of the most recognisable figures who was part of that Epstein circle at the time, or was he more than anyone else?
Well, remember these documents in relation to the defamation case that Victoria Giuffre was taking out against Ghislaine Maxwell now in 2015 that have subsequently been released because there was no justifiable reason to keep them redacted and out of the public. So I think in relation to that, we know about Giuffre's long-term accusations, which Andrew has always refuted, but nonetheless has given Giuffre a substantial quantity of money in an out-of-court civil settlement just last year. So it's not just Epstein that she was out to get. Andrew also very much in her sights when it came to the case of truth to power and what had or had not occurred. So we were always expecting Andrew to be front and centre. And in fact, some of what's been released, a lot of it, has already been partly revealed in public. We knew about the puppet, believed to be a puppet from that BBC series, the name of which just totally gone out of my head. The Spitting Image puppet apparently was sat on Giuffre's knee when she was a girl, and then alongside Andrew had the other girl, Sjoberg, who claimed that, you know, while the puppet was putting her hand on Giuffre's breast, she was encouraged to put her hand on Andrew's breast. Things like this, you just don't really want to be constantly recycled in the public eye. And I think we also must add that the police, so they've said again, they're not going to look into this, but there are suspicious questions around our own establishment and its behaviour. Why are Buckingham Palace's records for that night when Victoria alleges that she had these illicit, unwanted relations with Andrew, why are there no Buckingham Palace logs available for that particular night when Andrew alleges he was in Windsor? Why did the royal family, when these accusations first came out, absolutely categorically deny them if subsequently they felt the need to shelve Andrew and provide money for his settlement? Because I think we are assuming that the late Queen certainly will have assisted her son in his £1 million settlement.
Yeah, well, of course, no admission of guilt was made during that settlement. That's part of the sort of legal nature of it. Bill Clinton is also named as being an associate of Epstein in these documents. And we read today in the press that there is an allegation made that he made an effort to stop Vanity Fair publicising his involvement. How damaging is that to Bill Clinton? And do we know if we're going to hear from the publishers Condé Nast about whether that is in fact true?
You're right. This was in the latest tranche of documents, some 19 that were released late last night, some 300 pages. Bill Clinton is very much front and centre, trying to squash a story, apparently in quite a you could argue, hot-headed way, I don't know whether Condé Nast will feel that they have to answer for themselves. Certainly, it gives you an indication of the difficulties of talking truth to power. These men are not individuals who take career damage lightly. We know that Clinton has vociferously defended himself in front of any accusations that he had a knowledge of Epstein's appalling paedophilic tendencies, let alone was involved in them. And to date, I know that his traffic logs bear that out. He never went to the said island where these things happened. He's always claimed that his liaisons with Epstein were above board and philanthropic. Although I noticed that last night on your channel, Dersvich, the solicitor who successfully pushed back at Gouffry's allegations just late last year, did, I thought, somewhat land Clinton in the soup, reminding us all that Clinton left some high-end meal to have a very jovial conversation for some 15 minutes, returning, waving his mobile phone, saying, hey, Epstein's on the phone, he'd like a word with you. So in terms of how much didn't they know, that's the question, isn't it? If you are having very jovial relations, drinky poos, financial transactions with an individual, to what extent can you not be aware of what were clearly extensive and criminal activities going on? And of course, we know already of Bill Clinton's reputation. We didn't need to see it in the files that he likes young women. I mean, who can forget Monica Lewinsky, for goodness sake? So Bill Clinton's reputation goes before him. I expect he will take these seriously and act accordingly. He's an old man who doesn't want late in life, those twilight years that he somehow managed to rehabilitate, running asunder.
Yeah, and finally, we also see Donald Trump's name in these documents, Michael Jackson. As more documents come out, you say some have been released this morning, do you think we will see this sort of negative reputation contagion across more individuals, or have we seen what we're going to get?
I think there will be more. I just wish they'd have just released them all at once in a way. It's this kind of drip feed. You wonder whom it's serving. I know there's certain legal reasons why some have been put on hold. But yeah, nobody wants that reputational black hole. Nobody wants to be listed there among the rich, powerful, and potentially dubious. Epstein went from being the golden boy that everybody wanted to be friends with because he had the deepest pockets to actually being beyond persona non grata. And we know what's happened to his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, currently facing down a 20-year sentence in a US court. I don't know necessarily if this will place anyone in an equivalent position. In fact, I'm sure it won't. But Andrew is walking proof that the stench associated with certain individuals who had close contacts with Epstein won't go away. And I don't think necessarily the legal game is over for Andrew.
Thank you very much, Tessa Dunlop.